All righty. It is 6 o'clock. I wanted to give people a few more minutes to come in. This is new. I'm saying a few more minutes, maybe a minute or so. Let's see. So we have a new platform and I am learning to use this one. I am not seeing my Q&A section. Which is very interesting. Alrighty, people are coming in. I just know people are trying to log in. It's a new platform. And I want to give a couple of people a minute to get in. So I had to move to this platform because there was a leadership change at the other organization and it just wasn't gonna work for what we needed to do. So I had to make the decision to move to a new platform. Okay, I'm gonna check and make sure that you guys can see me and hear me because like I said, I don't see my Q&A box. So I'm going to have to, oh, here it is right here. Yes, you were right there. Alrighty. Okay, my Q&A box. Alrighty. I'm going to start the recording. Get rid of that. I'm going to start the recording and we will get started. Alrighty, okay, so we're getting started. This week's topic is about how to navigate government websites, government agencies, not just their websites, but how to navigate the government agencies. So I do see a hand raised, but if you could put it in the Q&A, then I'll try to cover it when I get there. So I'm gonna close this so I can see better. Okay, so a few things. This is live streaming on YouTube, so it probably looks a little crazy to those people, or if they go back and look at it. But this is our first week on Zoom webinars. Like I said before, there was a leadership change at the other organization, so I moved here. Plus, this allows me to share my screen and show you guys things. It allows better communication back and forth between us. You guys can ask me questions and I can show more things. So I think I can grow the podcast better on this platform, and I think it could be more interactive and I can help you better. So that is the deal with that. Okay. So the first thing I want to cover is something that has been, let me see, something that has been like misunderstanding, like um hold on, like it's been a misunderstanding like forever, and I want to cover unclaimed money is what I want to cover. I'm trying to make sure that I'm getting ready to open the right website, and I think I have. Okay, I want to cover unclaimed money. I need to get this box out of the way so that I can get to the website that I want to show you guys. Okay, hopefully you guys can see this page. Judson, send me a message that says yes if you can see the screen that says missing money. Okay, great. This screen says missing money. All right. This screen right here is where you can go and do a nationwide search in all states for any money that belongs to you. Okay. This is legit. This is a real thing. You see, this says missingmoney.com is the official unclaimed property website of the National Association of State Treasurers. Now, for somebody like me, I have lived in Illinois, I've lived in Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Mississippi, California, Nevada, now Texas. I may have left one out. Look how many states I've lived in. So instead of going to all those different states, I can just come here, put my name in, and then I can see if I have money. So my wonderful special nephew is on here. Nephew, if you can see the screen, send me a text that says yes. Okay. This is my nephew that I have put in this box. Search. Now it brings me to this screen and I can put in the city and the state, but if I just wait a second, some results are going to come up. I can pick the city and the state if I want to. And if this doesn't move any faster, I will. Okay, so look, watch this. All right. You see this right here? This is my nephew. He got some money. He won't get it, y'all. So I'm just like, nephew, can I claim this money for you? Because this is real money. Who can use $108.69 right about right now, right? So remember, I said this was the page where you can look and it'll pull up any money you have. And see this Peoria? I have this right here. This is my brother. That's who this is right here. Okay. See this right here? This is my stepmother. That's who she is. She had a claim with my father who passed away. A lot of you know, y'all have heard me talk about that when I talk about my estate planning classes. He died without a trust or will or anything. We've had to probate his estate. So this is the other reason why you need to know this information that I'm telling you about unclaimed property. Because if you ever end up having to probate because you didn't have me do your trust or do your will, so if you die without a trust and a will and you end up having a probate, one requirement is that you check these sites and make sure that whoever the deceased person is, that you have gotten any money from unclaimed property. That's one requirement before you close the estate. That's a requirement in many states. So actually, what this is, I called my stepmother. She got her part. This part that's left over is my dad's part that my brother is working on. We got to get this. So that this is one thing we have to do before we can close his estate. Okay. But so this is the national one and incorporates all the states. Now, if you've only lived in one state and you want to look, you can go to the state that you live in and you can do it just like this is Tennessee. This page is Tennessee. My nephew lives in Tennessee. I'm putting his name in Tennessee. I don't need to narrow the search because he has a unique name. If his name was John Smith, I would try to narrow the search. This is the unclaimed property site for the state of Tennessee. You just go to the unclaimed property site in the state you live in and look at this. This is the same entry. See this 10869? This is the same entry. And then there's some other Watsons. You would go through this and see if there's anyone else, that. Now, why didn't my stepmother come up? She lives in Iowa. Okay. That's the other thing you're doing. If you trying to cover like the family, if you're looking for family names or whatever, you can use that first site I showed you that's nationwide and search there. Or you can just search here. She didn't come up here because she lives in Iowa, and this is just Tennessee's site. The first site I showed you was nationwide. My brother lives in Illinois. That's why he's not on here. This is the state of Tennessee, and this is my nephew right here. So, nephew, it's you might say it's only $108. If you're not gonna claim it, I want it. I wanted to show y'all these unclaimed property sites. Now look, make sure you're going to the official site. Every state for the treasurers, they have a site. Every state has a site. And so you want to go to that site. Um, you want to go to the site, but this is the official one for the National Association of State Treasurers. It's the state treasurer in whatever um, state you live in. You go to that website, or you can come here. Now, usually there shouldn't be a crazy process, but you are going to have to send in some kind of proof. Like my nephew, he just going to have to send a picture of his driver's license and maybe a utility bill or something to prove where he is, because he's. It's that easy. Like with my dad, we had to send my dad's death certificate and all this other kind of stuff because he's deceased and the estate is trying to claim the money. But once they determine you're the rightful person, they're just going to turn it over to you. I've helped people get all kinds of things, the old savings bonds. They don't hold just money, it could be property. Someone like a safety deposit box or a security box that was left and someone died, whatever's in that box, the state will take custody of and hold that. So it could be gold coins, it could be watches, it could be anything of value. It's not money. So sometimes on there they'll say asset, or they'll give you an indication that whatever's left is not money. So I highly encourage you guys to check that out because it's very, you're going like I said, you're gonna need to if you have a situation where you're over someone's estate, or if you die without a will or a trust, your family is going to have to do this. But even for myself, I check this. Really, I check once a year. But even so I graduated from law school in 2000. In 2018, I found a student loan check from Pennsylvania that I had that I didn't know anything about. And so that year I probably claimed about $800 between I had a check in Tennessee, I had a check in Pennsylvania, I had a check in Mississippi. It's old security deposits. Sometimes when you cancel an account, there's money left over and you don't know that. It could be an inheritance, it could be anything that's left over. But I check this like once a year. I check it for all the places that I've lived and I see if I have anything. So I just wanted you guys to know about this site because there's so much talk about it not being valid. So let me tell you this part. There are people that search these sites and they will contact you and say, I will help you get this money. Like, pay me to help you get this money, but you don't have to pay them because I just told you how to do it. So a lot of times when those people contact you, it's true. It's just that people build everything as a scam that they don't understand. A lot of the stuff is not a scam. It's true, and there's people out there. Of course, they probably, my nephew, they wouldn't do anything. It's people that got thousands. They help those people, right? It's people that got property. It's people that have gold, savings bonds, like I said. So they'll call up and say, "Hey, you have some missing money." It's true. It's just they're gonna charge you to get it. So instead of paying it, I just showed you how to do it. So, so that's the page for Tennessee. And then I had the page up for Mississippi, but I have this thing in the way and I can't see because this thing keeps getting in my way. So anyway, that's the page for Tennessee. Is this the page for Mississippi? Hold on. Who is this? Yes, this is Mississippi's page right here. So, because there's a couple of people on here from Mississippi. This is Mississippi's page. See, they say we have returned more than $320 million. Find your unclaimed property now. See, it says unclaimed property. It's not necessarily unclaimed money. The property could be anything. And then they tell you in Mississippi how to go about doing it. So I've showed you Tennessee's page, I've shown you Mississippi's page, and I've shown you the national page. You can look in your state wherever you're at and then see how to do that. But just go ahead and do it yourself. If you have any questions about it, you can reach out to me. If someone contacts you and you have concerns or you look on here, you're not sure, but these are the official pages. What's on here is real. If your name is on here, you have property that you need to claim. Okay. The next page, the next government agency that I have up here is the Federal Communications Commission. So you're wondering, like, why would I need the Federal Communications Commission? And I'm gonna tell you what I use the FCC for. I file FCC complaints regularly. This is why. Because AT&T is always getting my bill wrong. Okay. because my bandwidth is not what I'm paying for on my internet. How many of y'all know that you might be paying for a gig or paying for 500 or 300 or whatever program you got, but you probably getting half of that. You can call them and ask them to optimize your line, run a test and optimize my unit. But if they're not optimizing your router, your internet, if that's not working right, if your billing is wrong, if you have a problem with any communications apparatus, you file a FCC complaint. Now, before I show you how to file the FCC complaint, you can also comment on things and you can look up like public safety reports. You can see what's going on, see enforcement, media, public safety, all that kind of stuff, wireless, wired lines, offices. The most important thing you need to know about this site and what a lot of people don't know is you file this consumer complaint when your telecommunication services are not as promised, when they're not working properly. Now, look, you can call the company if you want to, but if you file this consumer complaint, which I routinely file against AT&T, you get a call from the president's office at AT&T. They're required to report back to the FCC, the Federal Communications Commission, the federal government, and tell them how they fixed your problem. So a lot of times, not saying that it's not warranted, but I end up getting, two, three, $400 worth of credits. I have the latest internet router, equipment. I have all the bells and whistles because they want to report back to the federal government that they fixed your problem. So you would click here, file a consumer complaint. And then, look, you can file a complaint about phone issues, billing, equipment, coverage, number porting, unlocking, all that kind of stuff. Internet services, availability, see the speed, billing, your equipment, about TV services. Look at this billing indecency, loud commercials. I had my mother in law ask me the other day because we were watching TV. She was like, "Why are the commercials so much louder than the program?" Did y'all know that's a FCC violation? When you're watching TV, the commercials are supposed to be at the same volume as the TV. So, if you're watching TV and you got to keep turning it up and down because it's all at a different volume, that's actually a violation. And so see this loud commercials, that is. You file an FCC complaint. Like here, I think we were watching Channel 8 and I love Channel 8, but I'm tired of turning the TV up and down because the commercials are super loud. But the TV, the show I'm watching is at regular volume. That's a violation. Your service and more. See, radio issues. This pirate and unauthorized stations, pirating of stations actually happens. Interference, emergency communications like 911 outages, which happens in communities all the time, and then access for people with disabilities. So anyway, if you have any of these problems, you can file a complaint. So I have these phone issues right here. And then it says start your complaint with the FCC. You click right here to see, but the phone issues are unwanted calls and robocalls. If you get a call, write the number down. You can file a complaint. Unwanted text and robotext. Your number is being spoofed. Billing. See, usually I have a billing problem. These are equipment. Issues with your phone and related equipment, including device unlocking. If you have any of these issues, you can file an FCC complaint. So start your complaint. Come on. All right, so then you would get here and you just start filling this form out. And so for phone issues, see, you can attach like a copy of your bill. A lot of times I attach a copy of the bill and then I attach the email or the information that I have that says, look, I'm only supposed to be paying this much on my phone line, but they're charging me this much. Everything that you do here, if you go to the next page, let's see. If you go to the next page, you'll see a drop down menu that says, that it's a billing, that it's AT&T. You pick the company, you pick all this kind of stuff. But when you get done, you would just click submit. And within 24 hours, you're going to get a call from the president's office at AT&T. And T. And then you're going to tell them what the problem is. And when you deal with the president's office at AT&T, say you had a deal 2 years ago and it was supposed to be a 3-year deal. You see these commercials that say lock your rate in for 2 years or lock your rate in for 3 years. And then after the first year, they jack your price up. If you at the AT&T president's office, when they call you, they have all the legacy equipment, all the programs, they have all the ads, they all that kind of stuff, right? They can go back for deals from like a year or 2 years ago and they can put that on your account. They can fix it. And so a lot of the wrangling when you call in these numbers, because nowadays it's offshore customer service, and offshore customer service isn't the best. Or you go into the AT&T store and don't nobody know nothing. And so I just like, hey, I'll just file an FCC complaint, and they get right on it. When I tell you, you get the best of the best, you get the best of the best. That's I showed you all the categories of why you would file an FCC complaint. If you are hitting a brick wall with customer service, if you are hitting a brick wall in the store, don't keep fooling with it. Just file this FCC complaint. Um, okay, so um, the Federal Trade Commission, that's another one. So the Federal Trade Commission is there to protect consumers. Okay, so make sure um, okay, so Rocky, just send me a yes that y'all can still see my screen. I want to make sure. Okay, this is the FTC. This is consumer stuff. This is fraud. See here, get your free credit report. Report taken down violations. Report identity theft. Register for do not call. Um, you know, this merger antitrust comment, this is for the real vigilant public people out there. If you want to comment, like when American Airlines merged with United or something, if it's a merger or antitrust, you can comment on different things like that. But really, see this protect your small business. And they tell you about all the scams that's going on out there too. If you want the latest on if something is a scam, you can come here and check. But you can also file FTC complaints. Here's report fraud. That's one place. Here, let me see. Um, because I usually don't have to make these complaints. Let's see what we can do here. There's consumer alerts. You may want to check those out. Here, let's see report to the FTC. See identitytheft.gov, do not call.gov, takeitdown.gov. These are all consumer protection things. So you can, if you're a victim of a scam, if you think it's a scam, definitely identity theft, you want to report that. If you have a consumer fraud issue from a company, then you will report it here. Say, like, if there was a storm and a guy came by to repair your roof and he took your deposit, but he didn't repair your roof, you can report here and then they will help you. Either the federal government will investigate him or they will report it and work with your state government because well, this is the other thing. If a roofer or somebody like that comes by, you should make sure they're licensed and bonded, right? If they have a license, then definitely. But usually, if not, the federal government will go after them. So there's a lot of federal government resources that you can use to report on businesses. So let's see, start your report now or check on what's going on in your state. And then you can see if you, or say the roofer comes by and you want to research him, you can get on here and see if a report's ever been filed against him. You check him against the Better Business Bureau. You check him, make sure he has a license. You ask him to see his bonds. You do all that kind of stuff. That's called due diligence. But this FTC, this is where you report fraud. And it's fraud. It can be a private business, mostly any kind of fraud. If this is the wrong place, they'll tell you, but this is where you come for that. Okay, the Attorney General's office. I wanted to talk to y'all about this because a lot of people don't know that you can file complaints with your state attorney general's office. So what happens is, so for instance, this is Tennessee's page. What happened was this woman contracted, she called me because she paid this company to install some windows in her house. So she signed the contract. They were supposed to come put the windows in, but they kept canceling the appointment. So then one day they was like, well, we coming today. She was like, well, I can't do it today because I have to work. So then they said, well, you violated the agreement, and they tried to send her a bill for some ridiculous amount, like $17,000. So she called me. So she had tried to work it out with them. They didn't want to work it out. So she called me. I tried to call their attorney 2 or 3 times and the attorney wouldn't answer the phone. So I said, that's okay. I got something for it. We're going to file this attorney general complaint. So you can file a complaint with the attorney general. Now I thought I had it set up on the page for that. Hold on one second. This is how you do it in Texas. This is Texas's Attorney General site to file the complaint. Let me see if I can search and put complaint. See how we do it, y'all, when we do it live? Okay, so this right here is Tennessee. This is an online complaint. This is how you file it. What's the intention of a complaint? It's really the Attorney General. What happens is you file a complaint. So we filed a complaint and said, hey, what actually happened was I contracted with them. The person who was supposed to come install the windows canceled three times. One time he had a car accident. The other time he was homesick. He canceled a third time for some reason. And then when they set the appointment and she was at work and couldn't do it, then they said, well, you breached the agreement and we're charging you $17,000. So we told them the story. We filed this attorney general complaint and said, well, this is what happened. And really, we just want to get out of the contract. We don't want them fixing our windows or anything like that. So the attorney general steps in and says, okay, business, this is what the person is saying you did to them. Now give us your side. So then the attorney general will get their side. And so the attorney general just goes back and forth to help you guys work it out. But the real thing is, the business, especially if they wrong, they don't want the attorney general involved. They don't want to go up against that. So normally once you get the attorney general involved because you file this complaint, then they get in line. They get in order real quick because the thing that happens is if the attorney general sees conduct that looks like it's fraud, or if they see conduct that's unlawful, of course they're going to act on it. So filing an attorney general complaint when you have a problem with a business that's, treated you wrong, is done something unfair or wrong, then an attorney general complaint is one way to get help. So realize they don't represent you and they don't represent the other side. But if you are a consumer, you're a person, and they have a business has done something wrong to you, a lot of times, y'all, they know they're wrong because how many of my clients are on here or people I talk to where as soon as you guys call me and I call them, everything gets fixed. It's ridiculous that I even have to get on the phone. Once I get on the phone and I say about one or two or three things, all of a sudden it's fixed. And that's ridiculous. You shouldn't have had to call me to call them to make them do right. They already knew they were wrong from the beginning. So that is the benefit of using this attorney general complaint process. So like I said, this is in Tennessee. You just click on here, online complaint, and see file a consumer complaint. Is your complaint against the insurance company? No. Because if it's against the insurance company, they're going to direct you to the Department of Insurance. And then it says, is your complaint against one of the following financial institutions or related to it? Banks, check cashing, credit union, deferred. If it's this, they're going to send you to the Department of Banking. And then you read their little acknowledgement about their complaint process right there. And then you start the complaint. Put your name, put this, put your address, the phone number, put your email. And as you go through the screens, it's just going to say, tell us what the problem is. And it's going to say, attach any information that you may have. So whenever you're doing these online complaints that I'm telling you about and using these services, you want to make sure, and it should be really easy these days, that you have like an uploaded. If they sent you a letter, attach the letter. If they sent you a bill, attach the bill. If you have pictures of the damage, attach the pictures of the damage. And like I had another client call me because she paid somebody to do a deck and he didn't do the deck. So, we sent that to the attorney general's office. Then they took it up, but then they actually ended up forwarding it to their investigators. And we ended up, kind of getting some help that way. So just know that this process is here. So this is the Tennessee Attorney General complaint. This is the Texas Attorney General complaint website, and I've done one here too. So, so I've done one here too. So in whatever state you're in, check with your attorney general's office. They should have a way to let you do a complaint. And then, like I said, when that happens, they don't represent you, they don't represent the other side. But nine times out of ten, that business, if you've actually been wrong, that business is going to tighten up because they don't want the attorney general involved. A lot of people don't know they can file an attorney general complaint and get some help from the attorney general's office. um, they're going to help mediate it. They're going to help bring the two sides to a conclusion. They're going to help get it fixed. So a lot of people don't know they can do that. Okay, so the next site for navigating the government agencies and government websites. So I know I'm showing y'all websites, but um, the biggest takeaway from the Attorney General's office, just on the most of what you all will need is that complaint process, but also on the Attorney General's office, it will show you scams that are prevalent in your state as well. So if you look on there, it'll show you that too. Um, let's see, news. This is Texas. They have press releases, they have a podcast apparently, and then they have news. It'll tell you what's going on. Things like C Texas is want to require age verification for app downloads and different things like that. But it'll also tell you what's going on in the state in terms of what am I trying to say, like scams and things going on and all that kind of stuff. It'll tell you that. Attorney General opinions is probably a little past what y'all need, but those are the two important things. Check for scams, look what's going on in the state, and then file that. That's the important part about that. So the IRS, there's so much here. The first thing y'all should do is set up an account with the IRS so that you can get on and check your own tax account information. You can get your own tax transcripts. You can manage your tax account just like you manage your banking, just like you manage your light bill or anything else. You should get an IRS account so you can manage your IRS and your tax account from online. Now, a lot of people call the IRS or don't call because they say it's too hard to get through, but this is how I do it. And hopefully you're an early riser and you can get up. You start dialing at 6:59. You dial at 6:59 and you let it ring and hang up. Let it ring three times and hang up. Dial again because it's 6:59. Let it ring three times and hang up. When it gets to 7 o'clock, when it gets like you'll see the seconds getting ready to start ticking, where it's getting ready to change to seven, right, right on the nose, dial it again. You'll be like one of the first people that they'll pick up within the first 1 or 2 minutes. They might just actually pick up, or if you're in the queue, it won't be that long. So if you need the IRS, you just have to get up early and do it. You got to get in the queue. That's why you're kind of dialing and hanging up, dialing and hanging up. You kind of priming the queue, but then the closer you get to seven, because it's automatic, it's electronic. The phones electronically turn on at seven. So once you kind of been in that queue and when you dial right at seven, you're gonna be in the queue, you're gonna be first in the queue. And a lot of people don't get up and call that early. They say, oh, I'm gonna call at 8 or 8:30 or I'm 9 or 9:30. By that time, I've been in the queue and there's been thousands of people ahead of me. It's just crazy. But that's how I get through to them. Now, you want to, on this IRS website, one of the most important one is forms. If you need to know what form you need, see this interactive tax assistant search. You can search here for what form you need or what you should be filing or what you should be doing. This interactive tax assistant. See, there's a lot of good questions here. How do you file an amended return? How do you file a return for a deceased person? How do you get an extension? And do I even need to file a tax return and different filing statuses? Now, let me say something about filing statuses because there are people who are married and somebody is filing head of household. The IRS can go back 7 years. um you can amend your own return for up to 3 years. You can go back and amend for 3 years. Say like I found out that there was a tax credit I was eligible for and I didn't know about it. I can go back up to 3 years, get the credit, get all the money, all that kind of stuff. I can file again. But the IRS can go back 7 years and audit you. And if you're married and somebody is filing head of household, you subject yourself to an audit. That is illegal to do that. I know a lot of people that do it, and just because you've been doing it, like, girl, I've been five, 3, 4, 5 years, okay. But in year seven, when they when they finally catch you and audit you, that's gonna be very painful. So stop filing head of household if you are married, um, and especially if you married and y'all in the same household. Even if you married and y'all are not in the same household, technically, if you're still legally married, that's a filing status that can land you, um, I mean, if they want to, in jail, if they want to. But you can definitely have a big penalty behind filing like that. You may be eligible to file free. You can do that on this site. But what I wanted to show y'all about here, let me see if I can put it in here. Um, I can spell, see if it'll, mm, let me see. Maybe I should just put separate and equal payments. I'm trying to show y'all how to separate and equal payments. Find the retirement stuff y'all need. Searching. Oh, well, yeah, let me search all of irs.gov. Oh, substantially equal periodic payments. Stop, that's what I'm looking for. Okay. So I did a podcast a couple of weeks ago that was about starting a business. And I talked about how S Corp and 501(c)(3), how those were tax statuses, those were not types of business entities. And so I was saying that's a designation given by the IRS. So also for retirement, the IRS gives you good information on how to set up retirement plans to where you can retire before 62. You can retire actually before 59. All of that information is here on the IRS page. This one, substantially equal periodic payments. This has to do with a one type of retirement plan, one type of way. Because a lot of people too, if you're out there and you have your own business, you can have your own retirement plan just like you would have in a big company. You got to set it up, and the information on how to do that is here on the IRS. So you see this. This says home retirement plans topic index, but they have a whole section on here. So there's a lot of information on the IRS website about how you do things, like how you set up a Roth bridge so that you can retire 5 years earlier than the 59 that there is. You can really set up a bridge and you could retire at 50 if you do it right in your 30s. But all that information is on here. There's a deduction right now. If you buy a vehicle 6,000 pounds or over, you get like a $30,000 deduction. That's gonna pay for the vehicle. If you just get a $30,000 vehicle over 6,000 pounds, that'll pay for it. If you have recently bought a house like we did and you have discount points, the discount points that you pay on the house, that's a tax deduction. And we paid $10,000 in discount points. So we definitely want to claim that on our taxes. And I actually had that page up. I need to um I need to change pages and do it. But anyway, okay. So, okay, home mortgage points. Okay. So this describes points, and then this describes the deduction that you get for the points that you paid for getting your mortgage. So this tells you what's not deductible as interest, appraisal fees, mortgage fees, notary fees, but the points that you paid are deductible on your taxes. So a lot of people buy a house and they pay points, but they don't ever think to write that off on their taxes. And so in this season of home buying, you should consider that. My point of showing you this IRS page, one is to tell you, like I said, make sure you get an IRS account, set it up. The other thing is if you have an IRS account and you set it up, it makes it harder for people to file taxes in your name or under your, you can actually put a feature on there where a code is needed to file your tax return. That'll keep all these instances I hear of the baby mama or the baby daddy filing a tax return and they shouldn't, or of a scammer or someone out there having your social security number get someone filing a tax return because they actually need a code to file it. So, so that part is on there. So this part about mortgage points. So what I'm saying is the whole deduction about a vehicle over 6,000 pounds or $30,000. Look that up. This mortgage points, any kind of anything that you do that's business or personal could have a tax implication. You can get on the IRS and see can you write that off. So most everything I do, I try not to do too many things that I can't write off on my taxes. So I try to figure out a way. I either run it through a business, which is really why everybody should have a LLC for something. You can create an LLC for something and run a lot of your expenses through there and make them tax deductible. All of these TVs in the house, a lot of the stuff I have, my computers and everything. I mean, like my accountant will tell me, okay, so far this year, it might be October, right? You owe this many thousands of dollars. Well, I just go spend it on something that's tax deductible, like stuff for my business. And because I'm either going to pay it to the federal government in taxes, right? If I don't use it and buy something that I need it anyway. So sometimes you think you don't have the money, but usually by the time October rolls around, you have a good idea of how much money you made that year, how much your expenses were already. You only got 2 more months left in the year, and that'll give you a chance to see, okay, well, what am I looking like in terms of taxes? What is it looking like? Does it look like I'm going to owe, or does it look like I'm going to get a refund? And so but you can get on here and see, okay, what kind of things can I deduct? So forms will tell you. You can get on there and actually say, okay, like, well, crap, here's this form, this 2848. If you need a power of attorney, like we needed one for my dad, you can get on forms though, and you can actually search for the forms that you need, and it'll pull, see, current year, prior year. They have ebooks, mobile friendly forms right here. So a lot of times the IRS can seem scary, and it can seem like I don't want to fool with them, but they really have a lot of resources. I would encourage you to try to make the IRS, like, demystify it. Don't make it so scary. I'm pausing or saying making it your friend, but let's not be afraid of it, and let's get on here and use all this good information they have, because they really do have a lot of good information on here to actually help you save on your taxes. And I'm always trying to be in a status where I don't pay. Big corporations don't pay, and I don't want to pay either. And a lot of the information on how you can avoid taxes is actually on the IRS website. Why is it on there? Because it's the law. So if there's a law that lets you take a deduction, if you buy a $30,000 vehicle and you get a $30,000 deduction, I mean, I'm not mad about that. Like, no one can be mad about that. That's what the law is. So a lot of that information though on how you can actually avoid taxes, it's on the IRS website. It is here for public consumption. And so the other thing I was gonna say, like with the discount points, and I just had that screen pulled up with it on there, or if you buy that 6,000 pound weight vehicle, I always print that information off and I provide it to my accountant just to make sure they know. So, depending on how good your accountant is, or are they an accountant? Are they a bookkeeper? Are they a tax preparer? Like, what category, what are they? But I don't care if they got 8 degrees, I'm sending them the latest information I see off the IRS about the deduction that I'm trying to get, because I don't want them to miss anything. And so you really have to have a close relationship with, you should, everybody on here get it. You got a hairdresser, you got a girl to do your nails, you got all that kind of stuff. Get you a tax. It could be a tax preparer, it could be an accountant. Get one person and get them on the page you need them on. Because I had a tax preparer before the one I have now. Every year I was like, like, they had me set up to pay, and I'm like, what is going on? They weren't digging into all of the deductions I was eligible for. And so I kind of got turned on to a lot of the information that's on the IRS website. That's the law, it's public information, and it'll tell you where you can save money. So that is why I wanted to show y'all the IRS page. Let's see what it say about refunds. I ain't even looked at this. Where's my refund? Check in your account. See, that's why I said set up an account. And so now you can check without signing in, but in your account, there's a whole bunch of good information. And also, if you have an account, that's considered more secure, especially when you call in too. But if you have an account, that you can get more information than you can, and I mean online, than you can without an account. If you have an account, it's going to all be laid out there. Um, But if you don't have an account, you're going to only have limited information. So if you have, you can get an IRS account for yourself, and you can also get one for every business that you have. You can get an IRS account for it, and you can manage a lot of things just from right here. You don't have to call in. But if you have to call in, use that 7 a.m. Auto dialer trick that I said. That's your best bet. And sometimes, like during the day, I remember, dang, I need to call the IRS, but I don't even call during the day. I just wait to do it in the morning because I know I can get right through. Credits and deductions right here. And you know what? Okay, so look, Family Independence, Inflation Reduction Act credits. Now, look, let me tell y'all something about the orange man. I shouldn't even call him that on this video. Donald Trump, the president. It's a lot of things we don't like, but we can throw all that away. Now, there's some tax credits and some stuff, y'all, that's worth looking into. This clean, clean, is that the one that's the $6,000? This clean vehicle credits? Probably not, because those are big trucks. That wouldn't be a clean vehicle. Um, Home energy credits, like we put solar on our house. The solar credits have expired, but there may be some other ones. But you can look on here, see employment credits, business credits. Um, let's see what they got for business credits and deductions. These are all the business credits and deductions that they have. Let's see the tip credit, small employer. See the small employer pension plan, startup costs, and auto enrollment. That's when I said if you work for yourself, you can actually have your own retirement program like the big companies have. Look, and then they give you a deduction to do it. They give you a credit to do it. And so let me business interest deduction. Look at this home office deduction. Check it out. Um, Let me talk about the difference between a credit and a deduction real quick. So um you can get credits or you can get deductions off. The deductions come off, I believe, your gross that's on the first page. The credits are on the second page. What you really want to do is you want to get deductions first. Let me see if I can find a 1040 real quick. Let's pull it up. Ooh, Form 1040. Okay. See this Form 1040? This is just a regular 1040. Now, this is a 1040. A 1040A exists because you got amendments. You have attachments to it that, like a Schedule C. That's what you report your small business on, a Schedule C. Okay, so this up here is just demographic information. This is your filing status. Remember, I said don't file head of household if you really married. There's married filing jointly, even if only one had income, and married filing separately. Enter the spouse's social security number. That's what you're supposed to do. Like if you're not living together, but you're still legally married. Head of household is a single person that's the head of their household because they taking care of children. Okay, put your dependents right here. All right. See this income? This is all the different ways that you can have income. Tip income, Medicaid waiver payments. They're considering all of this taxable dependent care benefits, employer provided adoption benefits, wages from Form 8919. These are all of the ways that you would have income. You have to add all this up and then you're on this line, right? This, okay, so you have gross income, but then you have adjusted gross income. A lot of what you do is adjusted gross income. So, adjustments to income from Schedule 1, line 26. You carried over here. All of this stuff is total income. You go to this form and get line 26, you subtract that, and that's how you get adjusted gross income. This is the number that most of what you do in life is operated off of, your adjusted gross income. Okay, I just saw capital gain. Um, Look, capital gain, that's what you want to avoid. That's if you sell your house and you sell it too early, or if you sell stock and you sell it too early, you want to avoid the gain. The loss you can write off on your taxes. So if you sell some stock and you sell it at a loss, you can put it here on your taxes. Don't even worry about it. It's a loss. It'll come off what you owe. See these taxes, tax and credits, these further come off. These are the credits that you get. for credit for the children that you have, like the credit for the kids, the credit that you have for above for being married, the credit you get for that. See this child tax credit, all that kind of stuff. This comes off. Credits are good. Payments and refundable credits. So any tax that was withheld, you get a credit for that. Form 1099, all of these things, all the stuff you want to come down and look through this and say, do I have any of this stuff? Look at the American Opportunity Credit, the refundable adoption credit. They have all these different credits. That's how it look, y'all. That's how you get to a refund or the amount you owe. These are things, so you want to look at this, return quickly, and go through it and say, do I have any of these things? What are they allowing me to get a credit for? What are they allowing me to subtract from my income so that I don't have to pay so many taxes? So you either going to get the refund right here after you do all this math, after you take all this stuff off. So you need to know what this stuff is. And if you have any of this stuff, make sure you turning it in and reporting it. And then this is the amount you owe. Anyway, I just wanted to go through and show y'all this because it's really just basic math. They're going to add up all your income first. They're going to see all of this stuff is income. Go through this and see what this is so you see what they're calling income. And then go through and take these credits off. And so you want to try to have this stuff, all of these business deductions, all this kind of stuff. Okay, that's just this page. The Secretary of State. I want to tell y'all about the Secretary of State. The Secretary of State's office in most places is where you go to become a notary. Okay. Now in Tennessee, if you come to Secretary of State's office to try to find out how to become a notary, it's going to tell you obtain a complete application from the county clerk's office. So in Tennessee, you go through the county clerk's office, but your commission is a statewide commission. It comes from the Secretary of State. So anybody who wants to become a notary, go to your Secretary of State's office. That's how you become a notary. Um, and then you go to the Secretary of State's office to search a business, to look up a business. Like, is the business in existence? You also go there to form a business. That's not this page, but you go there to form a business or to look up a business. I did one about how to start a business. I did a podcast. You also want to go there to see if the name that you want to call your business is it taken already or is it available? You do all that at the Secretary of State's office. But real quick, this is another thing that most people don't know. When you're dealing with state agencies like Department of Human Services, Child Support, um, any agency, they're going to have what's called rules and regulations. The rules and regulations for almost every state, they're at the Secretary of State's office because they have to be filed, officially filed. Now, there's laws, but then there's rules and regulations. The rules and regulations tell you exactly what that state agency is supposed to be doing. So, like in Tennessee, see this says effective rules and regulations of the state of Tennessee. Okay, we're going to go down to the one that says 1240, because that's where human services is. So when you go here, then they have the rules for family assistance, child support services, Medicaid. This medical service is really Medicaid. Uh, Let me see, rehab services if you need rehabilitation services in your state. These rules right here, look, forms for establishing and modifying support orders, forms for withholding of income for child support, 4D actions, child support guidelines, liens for child support. This tells you exactly what the agency is supposed to be doing about this stuff. Look at child support guidelines. So, rules and regulations tell you how that agency is supposed to be doing their job. In every state, there's rules and regulations for an agency. In most states, they should be at the Secretary of State's office. That's why you want to know about the Secretary of State's office. So there may be some laws about child support and stuff, but this right here tells you on a day-to-day basis how they're supposed to be operating. This tells you how they do the calculations. See, look at this, paternity determinations, domestic violence orders of protection. So it's not enough to just know there's a law out there. You also need to know that there's rules and regulations out there because that's how the people in the office that do the job, this is how they're supposed to do their job. The rules and regulations. This is on the ground how they're supposed to do their job. So that's why it's important to know about the Secretary of State's office and navigating that. That's the EOC. Hang on one second. This is businesses. When I said, see, file a new business online, file an annual report for your business, file and search the UCC. That may be a little fancy. I may not need to know that part, but you can file for a new business online. See a charity and business filing system. This is how you start to set up your business in the state of Tennessee. So this is also the same place where you file your annual report. So the Secretary of State's office will give you all the information you need about how to set up a business. This search for an existing entity, verify a certificate. This is in order to see if a business is in existence. You can look up charities, you can look up regular businesses. See, this business entity search is just a regular business. And then you can put a business name in here and it's going to tell you if the it's going to tell you the status of the business. Okay, right. So this was my trucking company, Noble Transport Service. It was a LLC. It's dissolved. I'm not operating it anymore. So that gave you the status of it. But you can look up any business. Someone said their business. You have a question about it. You can look it up. I don't know if I have any details. So this was, um, yeah. See, that was when I came to Texas, and so this was, what I had, but so now it's dissolved. So anyway, that's how it works. You come here and you either look up a business or you can come here and you can start a business or you can search for a notary. See this notary search right here? So the Secretary of State's office, what you need to know about navigating that is this is where you start businesses. This is where you search to see if a business is active. This is where you come and look up and see is the business name you want available. This is where you come to get all of the rules about a state agency you're dealing with. I showed you DHS because that's the one that is most people deal with. But there's also, the barber school was on there. There were several other ones that was on there. Let's see if I can go back to it. Um, let's see. See, pharmacy, physician assistants, the board of parole, anything that you can think of, any agency in the state, it's on here. These are the on the ground rules for what they're supposed to be doing every day, day to day. And it tells you what people are supposed to be doing when they do their job, the rules, the explanation of the law is right here. And a lot of times people don't know to look here, but this is actually an important place to look, especially for people that's doing child support and Medicaid and custody issues and different things like I showed you. Okay, so that's what you need to know about Secretary of State. Um, because we're running almost out of time. The EEOC, I need to look and see if we have questions, but the EEOC, this is how you file a charge for employment discrimination, and it'll give you all the information on here on how to file a charge for employment discrimination. I would suggest that you get help from an attorney before you file this because if you file this charge for employment discrimination and you leave something important out, or you say the wrong thing, or you do something like that, you really hurt the legal case. And a lot of times, attorneys will not take your employment discrimination case if you already filed this charge on your own. Now, sometimes they will, but sometimes it's just that if it's gotten off to a bad start, then they won't take it. So you have to understand that first. I wouldn't file a charge without going to see an attorney first, and then the attorney may just decide to skip the charge and go ahead and go straight to litigation. But if you're going to do the charge, a lot of times they prefer to write it, so you should know that first. But if you're going to do it yourself, I would read this first. And nowadays with AI, I would put the problem into AI and I would ask it what it thinks. But please know that AI is still not 100% accurate. It's still not 100% good. That's why you shouldn't 100% rely on it. So you should read this. Here's the time limits and um, just all the different things about filing a charge. But I wouldn't file it without talking to an attorney first and see if you can get them to take the case. Another quick thing I want to talk to y'all about because enough people don't know about the Office of Vital Records in the state where you're at. Okay, everybody in their house, you should have a copy of birth certificate for everybody in your immediate family. That would be you, your spouse, your children, bonus children, your even your grandchildren if you can get them. Now you can't get it. You would have to ask your kids to give them to you, but you want to tell them it's just safekeeping. Now, you should have a fireproof bag or a fireproof like tote box or a bag. I have both, but you should have a fireproof container that you keep all your personal documents in. Now, how do you get it? The office registers, amends, issues, maintains original certificates of birth, death, marriages, and divorces that occur in Tennessee. Okay, so you want to get original certified copies. You want to get certified copies. Once you get the certified copies, you can just make regular plain copies. But in your house, you should have copies of these documents. If it's your spouse or a child, God forbid, or your parents or whatever, you should have death certificates, birth certificates, marriage licenses. Okay. You should also have extra copies of the Social Security card. You get that from the Social Security Administration. Get those. You should have a copy of your mortgage or a copy of your lease if you're in an apartment. You should have passports, copies of your passport. You should have a copy of every single credit and debit card that you carry in your wallet. You lay them on the copier, copy the front, and then turn them over and copy the back. On your copier, on a lot of copiers, even the ones we have at home, there's a button that says copy ID, or there's an option or somewhere on the printer that says ID copy. When you do that, that allows the printer to copy, it'll copy one side of your ID and then it'll tell you to turn it over. You turn it over on the other side and then it's going to print one time with the front and back copy of the ID. You should lay all of your credit and debit cards on the copier, copy it, turn them over, copy the other side. You should have keep at least one copy of the utility, the bills that you have, your insurance policies, um, preferably like a health record with your immediate, emergency health needs or whatever. You need all that because y'all be watching on TV. And these people that's in fires or floods or whatever it is, and they run out of the house and you see them on the news and they got a car full of stuff. They got blankets, they might have food and water, and all that is great, but they don't have any of their personal documents. And if you're going to get FEMA relief, if you're going to get any help, if you're going to get anything after any kind of emergency, this whole country is suffering from a change in climate. Let's just say that so I don't be controversial. We got fires in one part of the country, we have floods in other part of the country, we have tornadoes, hurricanes, we have all kind of devastating. And then so what's happening is people are running out of the house, but they don't have the important documents that they need. You need to have it handy so you can grab it if you got to run. Everything I just mentioned should be in this fireproof, waterproof container. Now, in the event that, say, you're at work and your house burns down, in theory, this fireproof container is supposed to protect everything that's in there up to so many degrees. You want to see what it's rated for when you buy it, but it's going to protect what's in there because you're going to need that stuff. And if it burns up, you're going to have to how do you prove who you are without, you know, the driver's license, birth certificate, and all that kind of stuff? Because believe it or not, a lot of people don't even carry their driver's license with them. Sometimes it's at home. You never know, why people don't have this stuff. But the odd thing is too, and I've been in a situation where people want a birth certificate to prove I was born, and I'm like, I'm standing right here. That's not proof enough. But if you don't have those things for that's just I'm talking about an emergency, but even just for other reasons, there's a lot of circumstances that can happen where you need those documents. And so I'm trying to tell y'all now to prepare and to contact the vital records office in the state that you're in. That's a state office usually. In some states, they may maintain this information on a county level, or they're going to send you to the county satellite office for the state office. If you don't live in the capital, a lot of times there's a state satellite office in the county. They'll send you there. But you should be accumulating these documents that I said and keep them in a safe place. And I think, am I down to okay, so this was Tennessee's Vital Records website. You get on the site and it'll direct you to where to go to get the documents. and this is Illinois because I'm from Chicago, right? I'm from Illinois. This is the website here. They have adoption, birth, civil union, death records, dissolution of civil unions, those are basically common law marriages, dissolution of marriage records, genealogy, and things like that, right? So I'm researching my family history. A lot of times, in order to get genealogy records, that you have to prove, that you have an entitlement to the record. You have to prove that to get any record. And the person has to be deceased for about 20 years in a lot of cases. The states are going to have their own rules for how you can get. So, like my great grandfather, of course, has been deceased a long time. I could get his birth certificate, death certificate. I can get that. But, like, right, I can get my child's birth certificate and I can get my spouse's birth certificate. Anybody beyond that, you have to prove a legal right to get the birth certificate. You can't just go getting anybody's birth certificate. You can't just go pulling those documents. You have to have, so I can get my father's birth certificate, but that's because I have a power of attorney on the estate, right? I mean, he's deceased, but he ain't been deceased that long. So you have to have a right to the record you're requesting. But the things I'm telling y'all to get is stuff y'all need. Even if your kids are grown, get their birth certificates because a lot of times they don't even have it. So I recommend having, two copies of everybody's. Like I said, you can get one certified, but I usually buy two or three certified copies of everything. And of course, I know it depends on the cost. It's different state by state. Now, the last I knew about the state of Illinois, they had a third party service that you order through them and they send you your birth certificate. I'm not sure if they're back to doing it themselves, but you can read this information right here and see, and then that'll help you. With that. I didn't get to like the state housing authority. It was a few agencies I didn't get to, but it was a few important things I wanted to cover, things that people didn't know about state agencies, about the unclaimed property and how it actually works, and that it actually is a real thing. And I want people to not be afraid of the IRS and to get on because a lot of the information that can save you money is actually on that website. I just wanted to cover some government things, and what I should do is look and see what the questions are. That's what I should do. Um, okay. Are there fees to search for missing money sites? No. That's a good question. And no, there are no fees. And that's the telltale sign that you're on something that's not official. It is free to search. If it's not free to search, get off that site. You're on the wrong site. Never pay to search and don't pay anyone to get it now that I've told you how to do it. Once you've identified yourself, or your spouse, tell the spouse, even if it's your spouse, you can't claim it. You can tell them to get it though. But once you've identified it, you just click that claim button and you fill out the claim form and then send them whatever information they're asking for, which is usually just basic ID. And then they'll verify who you are and they'll send you the check. Um, what about a lemon vehicle? A lemon vehicle, you can get that. You can make a complaint with the FTC about that, about the company. I had one from General Motors, and I contacted General Motors in Detroit, and they have a whole complaint process that was really good. It depends on the manufacturer and all that kind of stuff, but if all else fails, you can file at the Attorney General's office in your state. You can also file with the FTC for a lemon vehicle. You can start there. And then there are attorneys who specialize in lemon law, lemon vehicle laws. Because that's a special area, and it's actually a lemon. See, a lot of people get a car, it don't work. They say, "Oh, it's a lemon." There's actually a very defined definition for lemon for a vehicle. It's very defined, and there are attorneys who specialize in that. They would be under the consumer protection big category of attorneys, just like you have attorneys that specialize in credit reporting violations. Like if somebody reports something on your credit and it's wrong, you can actually sue for that. There's attorneys that specialize in that. So you want to just put that in the area you in and look for an attorney that specializes in that. Um, and it says correction. What about a bad vehicle purchase? That depends on what you mean about a bad vehicle purchase. Is the vehicle bad or was the deal bad? So Miss Johnson just called me and talked to me about that. Okay, claiming that today. I'll gladly break my auntie off a few dollars. I know that's right. Okay, look. All right. So Angela, is there a time frame to report the fraud? You know what? I would report it because okay, so there's something called the discovery rule in the law, which means your time frame kind of starts running when you find out. Because a lot of times, watch when it's fraud, it was purposely concealed or purposely hidden from you so that you couldn't know about it. So that's when the discovery rule kicks in and says when you first find out about it, that's when your statute of limitations starts to run then. So, because the very nature of fraud is the person was pulling a fast one on you. They were pulling the wool over your eyes. They were deceiving you such that you wouldn't find out the truth, so you wouldn't know that they were doing you wrong. So that's how that works. Hey, Jazzy, it says, hey, Jazz here. Hey, Jazzy. Let's see. Oh, Javarius is here. Javarius, I searched. You don't have no money. I was looking because I was going to use you for an example in Mississippi, but you don't have no money. But keep looking. Um, can you file gambling losses on your taxes? Yeah, you're supposed to file gambling losses on your taxes. You probably, I'm trying to think if they give you, if you get, I know you get the form when you win. Um, I want to check that answer. It says anonymous attendee. I cannot tell who you are. So anonymous attendee, call me on my number 615-596-3132. And I'm going to check on that because I seem to remember there was a reason that you don't want to do that. But yes, you can file your gambling losses. Anonymous attendee. Oh, oh, here goes somebody. You can deduct gambling losses only if you itemize. Oh, yeah, for sure. That's true. And kept a record of your winnings and losses. If you have any winnings, yes. The amount of losses you deduct can't be more than the amount of gambling income you reported on your return. Claim your gambling losses up to the amount of winnings as other itemized deductions. Great. Um, and so I'm trying to think. I'm gonna try to remember what it was. If there was another particular, that's good advice. That's good. But if there was a reason why you shouldn't do it. I feel like I heard that in a CLE class one time or something. But if you're going to do it, this is absolutely the way to do it. A lot of these deductions and all the kind of stuff I'm talking about, you do have to do an itemized. Now, if you don't want to itemize your deductions, you can take what's called the standard deduction. But somebody like me, like my deductions are way past the standard. The standard might be, I have to look it up, maybe 20,000 if you married, somewhere around in there. But if I got 30 or 40 or $50,000 worth of deductions, I'm trying to claim that. Okay, so the next question, hey, if you file married but separated, can you be held liable for taxes owed by your spouse? Yes. So what you want to do is you might have to do that whole injured spouse thing. Um, but that's why, it's a whole bunch of things. You got to be careful who you hitch your wagon to and all the other stuff y'all have heard me say. But that's why when it come around tax time, really during the whole year, but you want to kind of know what's going on with their tax situation and their income and stuff like that, and know what's going on with it because there are situations where you can be held liable. Then you'd have to try to turn around and file as an injured spouse. And in order to do that, I would either get me like a tax preparer or an accountant who's familiar with doing that, or they have these companies. Um, that help with tax relief. Now, there's several of them that's legit. Do your due diligence first. But there are also former IRS agents who have started up businesses to help people. You may want to get somebody like that to help with injured spouse. But watch this. I just showed y'all the IRS site and how all that stuff is on there. I try to go there and see if they had information on injured spouse. If I can get this webinar thing to move out the way. Y'all, next time I'm gonna try to figure out. See, I got the thing up here and I can't get to all my little tabs. I'm trying to move it, but I'm scared to click y'all off, so I don't want to move it. But anyway, if we go to that IRS site, there's probably information on there on injured spouse. If I can get this out the way, it won't move. So, okay, wait. Oh, wait a minute. That looks like I think I covered all the questions. I'm so grateful for everybody being on here. This is a new platform. And let me see. I could, I don't know if anybody wants to say anything that I could open it up at the end. But I had to pivot on a dime since if some of y'all came late. The other platform, there was a change in leadership and uh, it just was changing to a way that I didn't think was beneficial for the podcast. And plus, on here, I can share my screen and then I can unmute people and they can talk and I can answer questions. And I felt like that was going to be better for us anyway. So I just went on ahead and moved off the other platform. So, I think that might be all of the questions. I'll check again. Okay, and I will see you guys next week. I'm so grateful for everyone that was here. Thank you so much, and we will catch up soon. Stop the recording. All righty. Stop share.